In today's Tech Talk, we are going to look at the new Movo WMX-2 Duo, which I have been looking at for actually about a year and a half. It is a dual transmitter, single receiver, digital wireless microphone system. There have been a lot of small, compact, digital wireless systems that have been coming out lately, and the ones I've tried I did not like at all, including their first version, the WMX-1. Picked up lots and lots of peripheral noise, so I was very interested to try this one out, especially having everything in one box. So this is the outside box. Here is the actual setup. This is the system case, and it's a multi-function case. It's not just for holding your microphone system. This is the second transmitter. Normally you could have the other transmitter and the receiver in the box also, but this also serves as a charge station, and it has a battery inside the actual case that allows you to charge the system while it's not plugged into anything. It's very handy. And here is a charge indicator that lets you know how much charge is in the case. So here it's saying it's a full charge. You can get 3 or 4 charges per case depending on how much you used your microphones. This is the transmitter. The receivers look the same. The only way to tell the difference is if you look closely. Here it says TX, which is for transmitter, and it'll say RX on the receiver. Gives you a nice VU meter on the transmitter, so you can tell right away that you are getting a signal, and it is a dual VU meter on the receiver. Each of these has 3 buttons. It has the mute / power button, and then use the plus minus buttons. There's also a set button that allows you to do different other settings within the microphone, and all 3 units work exactly the same. Another nice thing about Movo is the transmitters. They come with wired lavalier mics to plug into them. If you need to do something really fast where you lose the mics, which happens if you're doing a lot of field shoots, this is probably going to pop. I can still talk in it. It's got a tiny microphone over here. I can just clip it to my shirt like this, and that's an in thing now I've been seeing more and more. I've had clients that I've did it for and they didn't like it. They say, use the lav, looks better and more professional. So I try and do that, but in an emergency, this works, and I've also left this on podiums and things like that, and it does a decent job of picking up the speaker. I prefer it plugged in like this, so you can see the difference between the two. This Movo kit comes with a whole bag of kit besides the microphones. It comes with cables. This is a cable to attach the receiver to a smartphone. This is a USB charge cable for the case, and you can also charge each of the transmitter and receiver units with a USB cable if you lose your case. They all have a charge port over here. Comes with a windscreen for the mic. And it even gives you a couple extras. When I first got the Movo units, I was pretty skeptical that these would work well, so I used it as a second system on a family history video, so it wasn't a high pressure situation. For the main system, I used my Audio-Technica System 10 wireless system, which has never let me down. And as a B system, I used the Movos. And when I got back to the studio, I couldn't really tell the difference between the Movo mic and the Audio-Technica mic, which costs about 4 times as much. So I thought, this is really good. And then I used it again as a main camera mic at a shoot where I had 3 people speaking. I put 2 people on the Movo and 1 on my old Sennheiser analog system, and everything worked well. So I thought for NAB 2023, where I do my coverage, and I will be doing again for Streaming Media Magazine, I will just take the Movo mics because it was small, compact, and it worked well. Well, turns out it did not like NAB. There's, I guess, a lot of digital signals and Wi-Fi going around the hall at NAB, and when I got back to look at the footage, there was a lot of audio dropout. I mean, I'm a one-man band when I go to NAB generally. I set up the camera, do an audio test, and then let the camera roll and step in front of it and interview whoever I'm interviewing. In this case, there was just horrible dropouts, and I maybe half or a third of the interviews we got through without major dropouts, but overall it was pretty horrific, and I was like, oh, this is no good. So I spoke to Movo, and they said it was probably a problem with the system. Send it back and we'll send you another system. So this here is my second Movo system. I was still a little leery about using it, so I used it as a backup microphone for a funeral that I was recording. I used my Audio Technica as the main mic and the Movo as the second, and it seemed to do okay at first, and then it was just not acceptable. And so I'm afraid that despite it having really good sound quality, reliability can be an issue. I've never wanted something to work so bad because it's so perfect to be able to have this little compact system of 2 transmitters, 1 receiver that can plug onto a camera. I mean, these things are tiny, and they're half the size of my Sennheiser transmitter belt pack and maybe a third of the size of my Audio Technica belt pack. But I think these are just a little bit too unreliable to use for critical things. And it might be good as a backup or something that's not critical, but unfortunately, I never know when it's going to really work and when it's not. A couple of weeks ago, I got contracted by an Israeli TV station to go with one of the reporters and record an interview with a Hollywood person, and I had the Movo on the Canon CX-10, which we were using for the second angle, just so they can sync sound and have a backup. And somehow there, it worked flawlessly. I wouldn't have done the interview without having my Sennheiser G2 and my Audio Technica System 10 as the main, because unfortunately, I just never know when it's going to be great, and I never know when it's going to fail. So with that, I'm going to say, if you want to roll the dice, the Movo might be a good choice for $200 if you can't afford anything better. But I would say, go with something a little bit more reliable if you have to do something critical. If you're not doing anything critical, you're just blogging and you can take retakes and stuff like that. You can check your footage. You might be able to take a shot at this. But unfortunately, for critical stuff where you don't have a chance for multiple takes, I would say go with a Sennheiser or Audio Technica system, because you just don't know when this is going to be great or it's just not going to work. Can't really recommend it for professional work. We'll use it as our backup if we need to, and hopefully it's working for me now because I'm actually using it to record this, so you get an idea of how it sounds. If it's working, it's probably sounding great. If it's not working, it's going to look like chunks cut out of the waveform on your timeline. I want to recommend it, but unfortunately I can't.